What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing even more buff bug-type Pokemon in the Go Battle League, but this time it's not going to be Fury Cutter users, and actually the buffs aren't even bug-type moves. Instead, I'll be looking at Shadow Beedrill and Shadow Scolipede, who both gain access to Poison Sting this season, and I think for Beedrill in particular, this is an absolutely huge upgrade for it. It is now a spam machine, and there were plenty of games that I won today where my opponents literally just could not keep track of its energy. Now, I'm also running the double-buffed Regidrago in the lead, which I conveniently caught exactly 1500 CP with the special background, so that's very cool. But also Dragon Breath in particular completely transforms this Pokemon from unusable to one of the best dragons for the Great League. However, it really does lack coverage. I believe it learns Hyper Beam, but if you're up against a fairy type Pokemon, you're not going to get that anyway. So with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. Which other legendary Pokemon would you like to see gain access to their signature moves in Pokemon Go? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. I should go into the first battle, leading Regidrago into a Shadow Kanto Marowak. Of course, this is a neutral matchup here. I've got two Pokemon in the back that have resisted fast move damage, so I want to at least stay in this matchup here, get enough Dragon Breath damage off to put them into range where an X-Scissor will get the KO here. I'm going to farm up to the Dragon Energy, bait with a Breaking Swipe, and Breaking Swipe grabs a shield, but not only that, it debuffs their attack. And Regidrago, not the bulkiest Pokemon ever, it has quite a large HP stat, but I'm able to reach a second Breaking Swipe thanks to the debuff and grab both shields from the opponent. And this one, of course, they will just be able to mud-slap farm me down, so I'll swap into my Shadow Beedrill straight away. I recognize that's just going to be a double debuff Bone Club, so I do know shield. It still does quite a lot of damage to the very glassy Shadow Beedrill, but they're going to come in with a Gelatin, and because of that energy advantage, swapping into my Beedrill, I'm able to reach back-to-back drill runs before they even reach a Surf. And of course, the opponent gonna have to throw a Charge Move here. Surf gets the KO, but they will not reach a second move. So we can come in with the Scolipede and go for a resisted Poison Sting farm down. And let's see what their opponent's final Pokemon is. The opponent gonna wait out their switch clock, and it's gonna be a Dedenne in the back here. I could have just gone straight for Sludge Bomb, but I'm gonna play this safe here, making sure the opponent cannot make a catch here. Gonna continue to overfire, waiting for the opponent to swap back into the Marowak. We can now fire off the X-Scissor. X-Scissor gets the KO. We've got the Sludge Bomb loaded. And of course, super effective damage up against the Dedenne. It gets the KO, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into next battle. You can see a Dugong in the lead. So, of course, tricky matchup for me. Gonna say swap into my Shadow Beedrill, and the opponent actually responds with a Shadow Drapion. This is not a good matchup for them. As Drill Run gonna hit for super effective damage. It does grab an early shield. And at this point, I'm just gonna match shields here. We do have an energy advantage. So, unless they double bait me, I should still be able to comfortably win this matchup here. And even so, we do have probably enough energy to reach two more drill runs anyways, even if they did go for back-to-back Aqua Tails. They're going to go for the Aqua Tail bait here, but it doesn't matter. I can reach the drill run, and drill run, of course, going to hit for super effective. It gets the KO from that range. They're going to come back in with the Dugong, and Beedrill able to outpace them to the next charge as well. X's are going to hit for neutral damage. We get them into the yellow health range, and the opponent will be over-farming here before firing off the Icy Wind to get the KO. Of course, I'm going to come in with my Scolipede. They will actually outpace me to that charge move because they've just, of course, over-farmed up against my Beedrill, but we can tank this, not particularly comfortably, but we do tank it, and their final Pokemon, once again, gonna be Dedenne, and we are debuffed, but Scolipede doesn't care. Sludge Bomb gets the one-shot. I'm now going to swap back into the Regidrago. I'm taking super effective damage here, but it doesn't matter. I'm able to outpace them to the Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe gets the KO there, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. You can see Como-O in the lead, and this is a tip for anyone that sees Como-O in the lead. It's probably going to be the team that Yonka showcased recently on his channel with Como-O, Shadow Steelix, and Sizzle. And unfortunately, my team really can't do much up against that team whatsoever. Of course, Regidrago into Como-O is fairly neutral, but then two Steel types up against my Bug and Poison type Pokemon. Yeah, there's just not much I can do whatsoever. I'm going to no shield here, going to fire off the Drill Run. Drill Run, of course, going to hit for super effective damage, so I do expect a shield here, but now the opponent can just commit to a full Thunderfang farm down. And like, what am I supposed to do? We come back in with the Regidrago. If they're not on Breaking Swipe, maybe I live this. And I do actually hang on, but I do not get damage registration error there. We go down with the charge we've loaded, and at this point, I already recognize there's nothing I can do, so I'm just going to concede the match. So, GG's to opponent there. Unfortunately, I did face that team quite a lot today, so that is annoying, obviously not being very good up against that team. But anyways, into next battle, we're going to see a Credilli in the lead. So, I'm going to stay in this matchup here. Of course, my entire team going to resist the fast move damage, whereas Rock Tomb going to hit both of my back Pokemon for super effective. So, we're going to stay in, we fire off the Dragon Energy, grab a shield from the opponent, and now I'm just waiting for the opponent to throw their energy. Of course, gonna shield up the Rock Team this time around. I'm now gonna overfarm massively, and the opponent tries to make a catch there. It does not work out for them. And now we can come in with my Scolipede. I'm gonna go straight for the Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb does huge damage, and I can tank an Ice Beam. Once again, Scolipede, not the bulkiest Pokemon ever, so we barely tank that, but we do tank it nonetheless. They come in with a Typhlosion. I'm barely able to reach an X-Scissor. X-Scissor grabs the final shield from the opponent, and that is absolutely game over. We come in with a Regidrago, going straight for Dragon Energy. Dragon Energy gets the one shot there, and the opponent is just going to concede the match. So, GG's up on there into next battle, Regidrago into a Shadow Primeape. So, a fairly neutral matchup here. I'm actually going to swap out into my Beedrill, however, because, of course, I do have two Pokemon that can double resist the fast move damage. I'm going to No Shield. They go for an Ice Punch there before swapping into a Fortress. Now, Fortress is like the rank 3 Pokemon on PvPoke. I've hardly seen it, so I don't know if that ranking is necessarily accurate, but we're going to go for back-to-back drill runs. They're just barely able to hang on there. However, I do not believe they've got a charge move loaded, so we're going to come back in with the Regidrago. One Dragon Breath gets the farm down. They come back in with their Shadow Primeape, and I'm hoping I can shield once and then commit to a full Dragon Breath farm down. They fire off the Ice Punch before swapping into Credilli, and here I make a pretty big mistake. I'm going to go and fire off the Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe grabs a shield, and then I swap out of that matchup. I don't know why. I should have just stayed in with the Regidrago. I debuffed their attack, so I could have very comfortably tanked a Rock Tomb from the Credilli, stayed in that matchup, whereas now, even though I've debuffed their attack, Scolipede still kind of needs to shield that up there. We do reach back-to-back X-Scissors, however, if the opponent shields this up, our switch clocks are now misaligned, so the opponent fires off the charge. Rock Tomb does not get the KO there, and I'm not able to swap out quick enough. Unfortunately, the opponent just barely outpacing me to the charge move, and of course, Ice Punch gets the KO there. We do get the Poison Sting farm down, however, we do not come out with a charge move loaded. They can Bullet Seed, farm me down, and I do lose that game. But GG's up on there into the next battle. We see Dedenne in the lead. I'm going to say swap into my Shadow Beedrill, and the opponent's going to stay in for ages before swapping into Credilli. Now here, you can see we lag. We try to click on the X's up. For whatever reason, it does not go through, and that is going to be massive for this game because now I'm debuffed. This X no longer threatens the shield, and that is super frustrating. At this point, we're going to overfarm considerably, fire off another X, and the opponent is now going to finally shield. We go for another X here, the opponent recognizing they're going to lose CMP, so they're going to double shield, go for the extra Bullet Seed, but Shadow Beedrill just so spammy, reaching yet another X, getting the KO there, and despite lag costing us there, I'm still able to flip switch advantage, and of course, I've also got a shield advantage here, but they've got Shadow Lapras. Things are going to get quite tricky for me, so we're going to come in with the Regidrago. We swap into my Shadow Scolipede, and I have to let a move go through here. Parabolic Charge is going to do quite a lot of damage here. I didn't quite reach a Sludge Bomb, but I recognize my win condition is farming up to a Sludge Bomb and an X-Scissor, hoping I can live the Sidewave damage to actually fire off the X-Scissor, but Sludge Bomb gets the KO, and now does X-Scissor get the one-shot up against the Lapras? Yes, it does. I'm able to take them out there, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We're going to see a Steelix in the lead this time around. So, definitely not ideal, but they are on Thunderfang. If they were on Dragon Tail, then that's just an instant loss for me, I think. Because, honestly, they're going to triple resist the Poison Sting damage. And, of course, going to hit for super effective fast move pressure up against my Regidrago. But, of course, resisting the fast move damage, it's not that bad for me. And I go for Breaking Swipe here just because I recognize I can now live this charge move. So, I'm now going to swap into my Shadow Beedrill. The opponent comes in with a Shadow Annihilate. So, not the best answer to Beedrill. I'm going to fire off the Drill Run. Drill Run is going to connect. It does big damage, but does that put them into Poison Sting farm down range? That is the important question here. Of course, Poison Sting is resisted. We try to farm farm them down, and we just barely miss out. I believe they're on 1 HP and a dream, so they should not shield this, otherwise they would faint anyways, and the opponent does correctly just let the move go through there. But they're going to come back in with the Steelix. We can fire off the Drill Run. Drill Run going to hit for super effective damage. It should grab a shield. The opponent committing to the farm down. We get a little bit of lag there, but I do still reach another Drill Run, and now I'm going to swap back into Reggie Drago, and I am just barely able to reach a Dragon Energy, which is huge for me. It is resisted damage, but we throw it on CMP. The opponent actually undercharges that, which is even better for me because Scolipede gonna have an absolute nightmare trying to triple resisted Poison Sting farm down the Steelix, but now they've put themselves into range where that is a possibility. So I let the first move go through here. I don't know if I can fully farm them down before they reach another move, and unfortunately I'm not able to do so, but I'm gonna shield that up there. They're gonna swap into their final Pokemon and Azumarill, but we are double debuffed in my defense, so I don't know if I can live the bubble damage. So I swap into my Beedrill, and this is gonna be super close. It looks like the opponent actually lags there, so I can't tell how many bubbles they've thrown, but X-Scissor just barely gets the KO. We get the triple resisted Poison Sting farm down up against the Steelix, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle and another Shadow Steelix. So, once again, going to stay in this lead matchup here. We are going to no-shield the first charge move, and the opponent this time going for Psychic Fang. So, probably not having access to Breaking Swipe, otherwise I feel like they would have just thrown it. But we get more lag, and as a result, we throw on alignment, giving a full Thunder Fang in for free. Now, it's not going to make a huge difference, but it does allow them to reach a crunch and get the KO there. But we can come in with a Shadow Beedrill. I'm going to fire off a Drill Run here. Drill Run, of course, will be enough to get the KO up against the Shadow Steelix. And let's see what the opponent wants to do. The opponent's going to come in with a Galissapod, so we are going to go straight for X-Scissor here, and we're going to throw on CMP. X-Scissor is going to be no-shielded by the opponent. I don't think they're quite into range where I can Poison Sting farm them down, so I'm actually going to let the Beedrill go down here, but unfortunately they're going to have a Jellicent in the back. Beedrill, of course, at least has neutral damage with Drill Run. Scolipede can only hit for resisted damage here, so I don't know if I'm going to have to claw this back, but let's see what we can do. Of course, we do have a shield advantage. We have just used that shield, and now we're going to use both our shields. So, of course, this is going to be very tricky for me. We are going to go for one Poison Sting, firing off the X-Scissor on good timing. X-Scissor grabs the final shield, and now I'm going to commit to a Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb is still going to be resisted. It does hit harder than the X-Scissor, but it just barely does not get the KO. I think if I landed 2 Sludge Bombs rather than throwing the X's initially, maybe I could have won that game, but unfortunately we do just narrowly lose there. But GG's to the opponent. Into the next battle, gonna see a Pidgeot. So of course this is definitely where we want to see it, with 2 bugs in the back. I'm just going to full send the Dragon Energy here. It's pretty obvious they will just shield their Pidgeot, but on the odd chance that they do, of course, no shield, we would get the KO there. So now we're going to shield this. The opponent does go for an Air Cutter. They do not get the boost, which is very nice. This will allow me to live the next Air Cutter, and I should still be able to reach a Breaking Swipe here, even if they did boost up their attack, but they do not in back-to-back Air Cutters. Breaking Swipe gets the KO. We're going to swap into my Shadow Beedrill, and the opponent comes in with their Clodsire. So, of course, if they've got Stone Edge, this is going to be very tricky for me. If they're on Sludge Bomb, then I do have some play, but the opponent is going to be on Stone Edge. I need to shield my Beedrill here. I should be forcing the final shield from the opponent by firing off this Drill Run here. Drill Run, of course, going to hit for super effective damage. However, I have not put them into range where Scolipede can get the KO. So, Stone Edge gets the one-shot. Gonna wait out my switch clock here, come in with the Scolipede, farm up to 6 Poison Stings, try to catch the move. It does not work out, but the opponent, in committing to the farm down there, allows me to put them into range now, where an X-Scissor will be enough damage to get the KO. X-Scissor is going to connect, and now their final Pokemon is unfortunately Unova Stunfisk, so they've got a second ground type where they are resisting the Poison Sting damage. X-Scissor is going to hit fairly hard, but you can see a second X-Scissor will not be enough damage to get the KO. However, we are still going to play this out anyways, just because we can. We're going to see how much damage we can do with a second X-Scissor, and yes, you will see X-Scissor comes fairly close, but unfortunately it's just barely not enough damage. Mud Bomb gets the KO there, and unfortunately I do lose that game. But GG's top on there. Into next battle, we see Shadow Scizor in the lead. So again, like the Steelix, this is really problematic for me. I'm just going to stay in. I'm going to no-shield the Night Slash here, and I'm just going to go for a Breaking Swipe. Honestly, I need to guarantee some damage here. Breaking Swipe is going to connect. The opponent can farm me down, but I have at least put them into range where hopefully Beedrill can just go for one shield and then Poison Sting farm them down. So they fire off the Night Slash there. We're going to go for that Poison Sting farm down. And the opponent comes in with a Shadow Crustle. So very cool team so far. Shadow Sizzle and Crustle. We go for the X-Scissor and now going to over-farm. Fire off the next X-Scissor on the CMP tie. X-Scissor winning CMP and grabbing a shield from the opponent. Now once again, I'm hoping that we can come in with a Scolipede. They don't have a Ghost type in the back. I'm going to overfarm, and it works out perfectly for me as the opponent trying to catch an X-Scissor swaps into a Azumarill. Sludge Bomb does monstrous damage. I'm now going to fire off the X-Scissor. I realize their Crustle is probably in range, but I can Poison Sting farm them down, so I force the final shield, and now we can just safely shield this up here. Scolipede will be winning CMP up against the Crustle. I get that farm down. We come out with the charge we've loaded. We're going to throw it straight away, and of course, X-Scissor takes out the Shadow Crustle, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on their into the next battle. We can see a Dusclops in the lead. So, of course, Dusclops a bit awkward for me. They're going to have access to Ice Punch, or at least it's very likely that they will have access to Ice Punch. I'm going to no-shield the first charge move here. Looks like a bit of lag. I actually don't know how many hexes they got through there because it did lag. And I also did not see an Ice Shard come through. So, I genuinely don't have a clue how much energy they've got on either Pokemon. But we do full send the Dragon Energy. And it looks like they did get the Ice Shard through as they swapped out there. I did not see it on my end. Otherwise, I would have thrown the X-Scissor sooner because now, unfortunately, I don't know if X-Scissor will get the KO, but X-Scissor coming through, it does not KO, but maybe even better for me, allows me to get the full farm down, coming out with minimal HP and with a Drill Run loaded. So Drill Run is going to connect. But at this point, I still don't have a clue how much energy they've got on the Dusclops. So we come in with the Regidrago. They're already at another charge move here. So I'm going to shield this up, and they go for the Ice Punch this time around before swapping into a Dunsparce. Now here, I probably should have baited with a Breaking Swipe. However, we go for Dragon Energy, and the opponent is going to shield that up. And at this point, it's probably game over. I don't know if Scolipede will be able to take this, but we're going to come in with the Scolipede anyways, and let's see what we can do. Of course, gonna have to shield up the Rock Slide here. I'm now gonna farm up to back-to-back X-Scissors, or at least very close to it. I am one Poison Sting away from the next X-Scissor, and they are one Roller away from the next Rock Slide. So can X-Scissor get the KO here? Unfortunately, it is not enough damage to take them out. And of course, Rock Slide, super effective. It will easily take out the Scolipede, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's upon their into next battle, we're going to see a Shadow for Alligator in the lead. So, of course, a slightly positive matchup for us, but they are probably going to have access to Ice Beam. So, at this point, I'm going to go straight for Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe grabs the shield. I do not debuff their attack. However, at this point, since I've grabbed a shield advantage, I'm just going to no-shield this, and they actually bait with a Hydro Cannon. So, at this point, of course, I'm going to let the Regidrago go down, come in with my Shadow Beedrill, get an energy advantage, but the opponent swaps out straight away into a Shadow Drapion, and we're going straight for Drill Run here. Drill Run is going to connect. It gets the one shot, and the opponent, I don't know what they had in the back, probably another poison type in the back, but as a result, I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on their into next battle, and it's going to be the Yonkers team once again. However, this time they swap out of that lead matchup, and that's a lot better for me. The opponent also going to go for a Psychic Fangs here and not a Breaking Swipe, which is also huge for me. And now go for the Dragon Energy. Dragon Energy actually gets them into the yellow health range. So at this point, I'm going to continue to overfarm. Wait for the opponent to throw. They do just go for another Psychic Fangs, and this time I'm actually going to go for a Breaking Swipe. I'm hoping I put them into range, but I can just Dragon Breath farm them down. Can we get the farm down here? Yes, we're able to do so. We come out with another Breaking Swipe loaded as the opponent comes back in with their Combo O. We go for Breaking Swipe grabs a shield there. I do not debuff their attack. And this one, I am expecting the Sizzle to be in the back. So we come in with the Beedrill, expecting the opponent maybe to swap out of this matchup and into the Sizzle. So I want an energy advantage. However, the opponent is going to choose to stay in this matchup. So we're going to fire off the Drill Run. Drill Run, of course, going to hit for neutral damage. And it puts them into range where I can probably Poison Sting farm them down. So the opponent is now going to swap out. But unfortunately, they shield up the Drill Run. So we can come in with a Scolipede. However, I am behind on energy. And of course, they're going to resist everything I can possibly throw. So whilst I will reach an X-Scissor, I try to throw on CMP, the opponent does not throw straight away, but X-Scissor is actually going to allow me to reach a second X-Scissor as the opponent overfarms, underestimating the energy generation. Scolipede gets the KO, and as a result, even though I should get completely destroyed by this team, I am able to overcome it here, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on the next battle. We're going to see a Shadow Gligar in the lead. So, this is another neutral matchup here. I'm going to no-shield this first charge move. Whatever they throw, nothing will take me out. They do go for a dig there. That's fine with me. They then swap into Como-O. So, I do just go for a Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe, going to be shielded. And this time, I do debuff their attack. So, we are going to shield this up here as the opponent is going to go ahead and full send the Clanging Scales. At this point, they drop their defense there. Maybe I could have just settled for an Exeter. Of course, Exeter is going to be resisted damage. However, Scolipede is very attack weighted and they have just debuffed their defense. But either way, we double full send the Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb gets the KO, but as a result, Scolipede does not reach an Exeter before Lapras farms me down. So at this point, I'm in a really tricky situation here. We're going to come back in with the Beedrill, and I will be shielding, as of course, we're taking super effective fast move pressure from the Lapras. I'm now going to overfarm. The opponent does make a very nice catch there, catching the Exeter onto their Gligar, but we can come back in with the Regidrago, get that full Dragon Breath farm down, coming out with the Breaking Swipe loaded. Of course, Breaking Swipe, not going to do much damage, but it debuffs their attack. That might be the game changer for me, but the opponent able to outpace me to the charge. I think I might live a Sparkling Aria, but the Ice Beam guarantees the KO there, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up on their next battle. You can see another Kanto Marowak in the lead. This time a non-shadow, so I'm probably not going to go for a Breaking Swipe here. Instead, I'm going to no-shield the first charge move as well, so I will be able to tank this. And then I'm just going to full send a Dragon Energy. Breaking Swipe wouldn't be enough damage to get the KO here, so Dragon Energy grabs a shield. We then swap into Beedrill. Unfortunately, I do not get a 0-turn swap there, so they throw on what should have been alignment, but actually they do not throw on alignment at all, as it turns out that ended up being good timing, as it did take 1 turn to swap out. But either way, we fire off the Exeter. Exeter does not get the KO, but they're going to swap into a Shadow for Alligator. We're going to fire off another Exeter. Exeter grabs a final shield, but Beedrill, so spammy, able to reach yet another Exeter, and Exeter gets the KO there. And at this point, things are looking really good for me. And the opponent, I don't know what they had in the back, but they're just instantly going to concede the match, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on their next battle. We see a Morpeko in the lead. The opponent safe swaps into Talonflame, and here I had the opportunity to full send a Dragon Energy, but we bait with the Breaking Swipe. The opponent calls the bait. They then opt for an extra Incinerate as well, which was incredibly risky because they've got literally 1 HP in a Dream, but it works out perfectly for them. And their final Pokemon are going to be very tricky to deal with as they've got a Skarmory on Steel Wing. Of course, Steel Wing going to be slightly better for my bug types than Air Slash, but either way, it is not good for me at all. So we fire off the Breaking Swipe. They no shield again. So at this point, I'm just going to preserve some of the HP on my Regidrago, force them to go for a Brave Bird here. Oh, sorry, a Sky Attack. Sky Attack actually does not get the KO though, and I am able to reach an Exeter before they can farm me down with the Morpeko, but still, really tricky situation to be in. So at this point, of course, they've got an energy advantage. We come in with the Scolipede. Honestly, they could probably just go for back-to-back Psyche Fangs at this point, because the first one probably going to grab my shield anyways, and the second one, after I've been debuffed, should be enough damage to get the KO. We are very glassy, and of course, Morpeko is a glass cannon itself. But I'm going to swap into Regidrago, force the opponent to throw a charge move here. However, they can just settle for the Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fangs gets the KO there. The opponent's going to swap back into Skarmory, and I needed to overfarm way more than this. I couldn't remember how much energy they had. However, I'm not going to outpace the Morpeko to the next charge move. And of course, from this range, Psychic Fangs will be taking out the Scolipede, and I do lose that game. But GG's up on there into the final battle of this video, leading into a Shadow Drapion. So a fairly neutral matchup here for me. I'm going to stay in this matchup, and the opponent's actually going to swap into a Hakamo'o. So I'm actually going to stay in, fire off the Breaking Swipe here. Breaking Swipe grabs a shield. It does not debuff their attack. However, I'm able to reach a second Breaking Swipe on the CMP tie, which is huge for me. That does not quite get the KO, but it doesn't really matter too much. Of course, Dragon Claw takes out my Regidrago. I can come in with my Scolipede, go for the Poison Sting, farm down. They're going to come back in with their Shadow Drapion, and I don't know what's in the back yet, so I will be shielding this just in case they've got a Pokemon that has a lot of fast pressure, like, for example, a Como-O. So at this point, we farm up to very close to back-to-back Sludge Bombs. The first one is going to be no-shielded, and now I'm just going to go straight for an Exeter here. What maybe I could have done is swapped into my Beedrill, committed to the farm down there, coming out with a Drill Run loaded, but I'm able to swap, catch what I assume to be an Aqua Tail onto my Shadow Beedrill, and that should just guarantee me the win now, because of course, we can fire off the X-Scissor. The opponent does not throw straight away. I'm one away from an X-Scissor on my Scolipede, and even if the opponent has back-to-back charge moves here, it does not make a difference. I'm actually going to save my shield for the Scolipede. They're not going to reach another charge move anyways. We can go for the X-Scissor. X-Scissor gets the KO, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.